All right. Are you all set?
All set.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Cassandra Klett, and I'm the Education Specialist here at the Key West Art and Historical Society. Thank you for joining us today for a studio tour with artist Dave Dunn. So during this tour, if you have any questions, please type them into the text box on your screen and hit send. At the end, we'll answer as many questions as time will allow for. We've also included a donate button at the top of the screen. If you can, please consider making a donation. Any amount will help us continue to offer these virtual programs for free. And I also want to take this opportunity to thank anyone who made a donation during our last DSS or our happy hour with historian. So as many of you probably already know, this week we are celebrating the life and art of Key Largo folk artist Stanley Papio with a week of virtual and in-person programming. Usually we would be gearing up for our annual Papio Kinetic Sculpture Parade, which involves local artists and schools creating kinetic art bikes and sculptures to be pedaled through the streets of Key West. Because of COVID, we've unfortunately had to cancel the parade, but we are looking forward to and already making plans for next spring. So who is Stanley Papio? Well, he moved to Key Largo in 1949 and set up a small welding shop. He would encourage people to leave old appliances, cars, and scrap metal in his yard, creating an unsightly appearance. Over the years, developers began purchasing the property around him and started building condominiums, houses, and other businesses. Unhappy with the messy state of his yard, petitions were signed, and after refusing to comply with zoning laws, he was arrested many times. Soon, he began creating works of art from the junk in his yard, often depicting these neighbors who wanted the mess cleaned up. Eventually, Stanley would work around zoning laws by turning his property into Stanley's Folk Art Museum. Today, these sculptures can be seen in the Stanley Papio Junkyard Rebel exhibition, which is permanently on display at Fort East Martello. So similar to Rebel folk artist Stanley Papio, artist Dave Dunn recycles and repurposes metal components such as bike chains, tools, and scrap metal and welds them together to create his sea animals, critters, and imagined creatures. Dave is known for his ability to turn anything that lands at his feet into primordial creatures. His last series, Creatures of the Deep, had him repurposing hard metal cast-offs into imaginative representations of the beings and beasts who rule the ocean depths. The studios of Key West provided a January home for Dave's creatures with an early January opening, and Key West Salt Gallery houses a number of them in its garden through April. While in school, Dave studied theater with a focus on prop design and studio art. His postgraduate work in metal fabrication and welding sealed the deal, and creatures have been crawling, slithering, and swimming out of his Maryland studio ever since. Welcome, Dave, and thank you for joining us today.
No problem. And if anyone can read that, as the piece of metal says, welcome. Welcome to pretty much where, a lot of people, refer it to as the art studio. I just like to call it the shop. But as you can see in the wide frame, behold the magnificence. This is where all this lovely stuff generally and will be created. So first, I just want to take on a small little PowerPoint presentation to show off some of the before art. These are actually pieces that were in the Key West Gallery, the Creatures of the Deep. A couple of them, I think 2 of them sold, but 2 of them are actually, I believe, still available and are hanging out at the Salt Gallery Garden right now. The first one was actually a personal favorite. I named this one Sir Clamps-a-Lot. Kind of just went with anything I could. That one was, I happened to be in a store where they just have medieval costume items, and well, when it's made out of steel, it's made out of steel, and that's always pretty good news to me because it means it's weldable. So that's how that one kind of came to be born. It's known as a pig's face helmet, but I decided that it needed a little bit more personality to it, and so it became what you see today, and definitely one of my personal favorites to make. The next one is actually there's a few variations of this one. I think there's about 6, if I am not mistaken. I'm kind of bad at math. That's why I'm an artist. So don't quote me on that exact number, but there it is. This one's known as the NOLA demon crabfish because unfortunately during the pandemic we had some friends who were nice enough to try to let me try to have a show down in New Orleans that unfortunately could not proceed on with what happened. But the piece still got to make it down to Key West, and has definitely made a few people very happy patrons. It's it's more of a, like, I enjoy it, but it's definitely a client favorite. It's just a piece that every time I make it, it just kind of encompasses its own personality, its own way of thinking. And also, as I grow, I kind of get to try different techniques with some sculptures that I haven't in the past. And it definitely lends well to how they look, because I always enjoy the way they come out. They're definitely one of the more, I wouldn't say easier, but simpler pieces to conceptualize and to produce. The next one was kind of, I just made a few turtles for a few people, and I liked them, but I wanted to up their fantasy value, if you will, a bit. So I decided to add 2 heads, and there we go. Oh, nope, sorry, I hit the wrong button. 2 heads, and decided to give it wings. Kind of thought, what would happen if a turtle could fly? And the name kind of just came out of, well, it looked like a plane, and to me, it looked like one of those big World War II B-52 bombers. So kind of just seemed like a befitting title for a piece that was made out of a Viking helmet that was purchased at a flea market for about $20. It was a very nice steal. The guy was very nice to sell it to me for a very good price. That's always nice in the steel game, when you meet someone who can negotiate on the price and doesn't want to give you the standard, it costs this much from the manufacturer. It's always pleasant to get a bargain in the art world, especially with this next piece, which I definitely got a bargain from. It was a construction site that did not need chain and rebar. They bought too much, and they were willing to just give it to me. So it was very nice, and I was able to create those big jellyfish, known as the Man of Wars. That one was a really fun piece to make, because especially in the Key West on a windy day, if you put them outside, the chains can freely float kind of back and forth. And, it's just a little bit of kinetic energy, but not too much of kinetic, because I am getting into that. I do have a piece to show you guys today that has a bit more movement to it, and that's something I'm definitely excited to move towards in the future more often. But these images are kind of just to give you, people who are unfamiliar with my work, a kind of idea of the things I can use. Wrenches, bike cassettes, chain, 1/4-inch plate. When you have in my world, when you have a plasma cutter, a forge, and a welder, anything can be, well, anything in your world. It's a quite easy world to be able to play with tools such as that. But let me not bore you with just the still pictures. Let's get to the meat of it and why you guys are here. So let's go ahead and start with a studio tour. So right over there, if you guys can notice, the magical big black box. This is my forge. This is a very, very helpful tool for metals that, honestly, as I'm going to put it, too stubborn to function, or they just don't want to bend correctly. They kind of want to do what they want instead of what I want. And it's honestly a fun little tool. I'm going to go ahead and show you a live lighting of how a forge would be lit, because it's honestly just very cool, and I sincerely hope you guys get as much entertainment as I do lighting this sucker every day. And as they say in the business, lights, camera, action, but lights, camera, fire in my business. And there you have it. the live lighting of a forge. This guy is a triple burner forge. So as you can see, there are the 1, 2, 3. This allows for 3 points of contact on metal. So it's essentially if you were to take a blowtorch, put them downward and have them constantly blowing hot flame onto the metal, and all 3 of them combined, they kind of work like workhorses, like a team, to evenly heat metal the way you would need it at certain temperatures. This bad boy can get about to I'd say close to 3,000 degrees, maybe close to that, but is generally exactly what I would want. You always do want to keep the door closed just for safety, but just so I can show you guys, since it's all up to heat now, there is a nice good look of how much heat is actually coming out. During the winter, I'll actually be wearing this, and people think I am absolutely crazy, but when you've got a heater that often puts out about 3,000 degrees, you don't really need to have the conventional heater. But that is my big black Bertha over here. Definitely helps me, like I said, work out the more harder, thicker, and tougher metals, especially if I want to do something intricate, like twist it or bend it. We're definitely getting into that direction more often as stores open and more of my metal purveyors are able to get me some of the nicer stuff I like to use. But as we move on to the most important machine in the entire operation, and that would be, I'm going to turn the camera. Aha, there we go. So this beautiful, beautiful box is my Miller-Matic 211. For those who don't speak the technical jargon, it is a MIG welder. What MIG welding stands for is metal inert gas welding. What that means is behind the machine there is a kind of like a big scuba tank, but it is filled with argon and not oxygen. Argon is a gas that, fortunately and good for me, is not flammable. I could, hold a torch in front of it and it would not ignite the gas. This makes MIG welding a bit safe, as the gas will never really explode or catch on fire, such as with acetylene or arc welding, something way more aggressive. But that machine is, the best way to put it, it is a metal glue gun. Pretty much I stick the wire on something and away we go. And if you get your timing right, you create a nice bead, which is, I can demonstrate for you right here. You guys notice right on the bottom where this part right here looks like a bit of booger that has fused itself, not just simply stuck, but fused itself to the metal. This means I have good collusion and it's nice and strong. So that's the kind of technical process that is used in my artwork. It's the main process that's used. I don't really use any other process to stick things together. I don't forge weld or anything like that. It is just standard MIG welding. Moving on, it's quite, bear with me everybody, we're gonna have to go for a little trip. But this big boy is my compressor and plasma cutter. These two tools in union with one another allow me to cut even the thickest of metals. I can pretty much slice 1/4-inch plate like it was a hot knife through butter, and that is what you actually notice on this piece of metal. This whole line is actually from a piece of metal I had to plasma cut. As you can see, it leaves a bit of an aggressive marking on the metal. So for a lot of my pieces, I do have to grind these down for safety because it can get a bit rough. But this is it's about 1/4-inch thick plate, and it will slice through it like it was paper. So this allows me to, cut the thicker metals to create legs, heads, necks, other big things such as this guy right here, such as faces. This whole face is made out of 1/4-inch plate. So it allows me to cut in mouths, eyes, and generally, I believe actually this was, yeah, there we go. As you can see with some puzzle pieces. That was the original plate, and you slice it off, and whoop, now you have a much more desired and custom shape that you would like. So pretty much all three are very important. The welder, again, being the most important. Probably second important would be the plasma cutter, and then third being the forge. But with all three of these tools, pretty much gives me the ability to, for the last 3 years, create all these things that you wonderful people have been supporting and buying and looking at and just generally enjoying as much as I have. And it's always appreciated. So I'd like to always take this opportunity to show you guys some of the recent works I've been working on. Some of this stuff is some people have seen, possibly, but some of this is some of it's commission work, and some of it is from the new series, which is kind of I'm going for a bayou swamp look, and trying to use as much as armor bits like helmets, shields as I can. It's a little difficult, but for some pieces it's definitely working out, definitely for the better. So we're gonna definitely go for another trip around the studio. So first up, we have the gold, what I call the gold jumper. It is the direct brother of the silver jumper, which an individual has purchased for their private collection in Key West. It is made out of a pipe wrench, few other wrenches, just regular hand wrenches. This is a chain right here, and the face. Well, the face was just little bits of bobbits of pipe rod, some, washers, and some individual chain links that I found. And this part was actually, I'm not really sure what the part is called, but it comes from the chain where the hook kind of holds the whole chain to the body of it. Next up, we have the tiny octopus. This guy was really fun to make. This is a private commission that is going to be going out soon when I go to Key West in about 2-3 weeks. This fella is made primarily out of bike parts. These two parts are the bike cassettes you would commonly find on the back wheel of your bikes. I know you Key Westerners love your bikes. I do too, and it's always fun to work with. And the tentacles are made out of the bike chain that you would find on your cassette. Moving on, we have a new guy from the Bayou series who is the War Nautiloid. He is made of the bike cassette as well, chain, and a very interesting helmet that I found over the internet that has a skull face on it. That was a very cool find. And it was I just had to buy it because it was just a very cool look. And as I mentioned with kinetic movement, this guy actually, I decided to keep him free flowing and moving. Oh, sorry about that. On his own will. So sorry about the camera angle, everybody. There we go. So that was fun to be able to kind of keep the moving bits. Next up, we have these, showed you the blue one, but what I call the faces. A few people have purchased these, and they can be the faces of Key West, the faces of DC, the faces of, well, frankly, wherever you live. It's a new piece that I've decided to make out of just scrap 1/4-inch around my shop to try to use up extra stuff. And it was a very fun project to kind of start on to. So I've got a few options kind of laying around. If anyone's wondering about the paint scheme, I use a technique known as hydro dipping, where I dip the aforementioned piece in a bucket of water with paint on it, and the paint will kind of adhere to the piece. And it kind of It always just gives this very independent, interesting pattern, always. And it's always different. Not one piece can ever be hydro dipped the same. And we're actually going to do a live hydro dipping at towards the end of the tour. Kind of going to circle around and we will get there. And that will be fun because I'm going to very enjoy it. I've picked blue and yellow to kind of the same pattern. And I think it'll go well. So next up was another helmet that I found that was a skull piece. And it was, oh man, this piece was very fun to make. And I really hope you guys have the same reaction I do. I did when I first made it. But I give you the first spider I have ever made. It is a very, very fun piece made out of the helmet, the bike cassette, and rebar. And this guy actually likes to kind of sit from his web and free hang, slowly watching whoever approaches the door. It's a little bit more freaky than some of my other pieces, but I just had a blast making this guy. It was just really, really fun piece. This piece will definitely be coming down to Key West to the Salt Gallery with me. So this piece just makes your skin crawl as much as it does mine, and it's just a thing that you just want to come down and see, please come see it at the Salt Gallery. I would love for you to swing it around, play with it, take photos of it, anything you'd like, because it was super fun. It's probably my new favorite piece that has been made in the Dunn In Metal shop. Moving on is actually an old one, an old friend to some. It's actually been with the shop for a long while. It's actually been with the shop, I believe, for the 3 years. He's been my buddy and my friend. This guy actually, he is mine. This one is personally mine. I've claimed him. I have made other praying mantises in the past, but this one actually is the only piece that I really got attached to. So he actually lives in my front yard, and he likes to, he's camouflaged, so I like to keep him hidden in the bushes, and it's always fun when the postman comes because they always have to take a double take when they see it because they're not expecting something staring at them. So it's my little buddy, my little friend, and he lives in my front yard with me at my house here in Silver Spring. Next up, and it seems like we have a few messages in the chat. Let's see, which comes first, chicken or the egg? Which comes first, the idea or the scrap piece? Honestly, it varies from piece to piece. There are some times where I've seen a creature on a movie or TV, and I'm like, that sounds interesting, and I kind of start to formulate what I need and what scrap I need. But sometimes I'll just have a pile of scrap metal, and I'll just start putting it together and welding it. And as I get maybe about a quarter through the body of whatever it is, and then I'll decide what kind of creature it becomes. The other question that we've got: can the blue-yellow painted sculptures be kept outside? Yes, they can. They can be kept outside. I do treat them with an anti-rust spray. If you do purchase a painted piece, you do need to apply the same rust spray I spray on them about every 6 months to 8 months to prevent rusting. It's a very simple Rust-Oleum clear matte protector, but yes, this will prevent the rusting. This guy actually did survive the winter. He was outside all day, had ice freeze over him, so you should be good to go. I will make sure they are treated. So the names, right out of thin air. Honestly, it is all about in the moment. It is all about, if I have seen something that has inspired me recently, or somebody pitches me an idea and I'm like, oh, that's great. But like this one is the dazzle crab. I knew it was a crab. I didn't really know knew what I wanted to do with it. But I knew it was somebody walked in and said, wow, that's quite dazzling. And I kind of said, aha, then the dazzle crab you shall be. This is actually a commission. I have 2 of these, one for the lashes and one for the McGurns. Here is the other one. They are quite silver and quite ready to be dazzling to their individuals. So the gallery is known as the Salt Gallery Garden in Key West. And the organizer is Laura Richardson. She has been wonderful. And I actually will be down there. We'll be doing a, kind of a tag team show on the April 26th, showing off this work and doing an official show from, I believe, 5 to 8, where we're allowing people to come in from like 5 to 6, 6 to 7, 7 to 8 in groups of 10. Please do mask up. It is required, and please be nice and remain 6 feet apart from one another. But other than that, it is going to be an awesome event. Salt Gallery is working really hard, and I'm very excited to be partnering with them on this upcoming end of the month. So yes, and that was again Salt Gallery Garden in Key West. So moving on to the what I call the big boys, or the kings. So first we have a piece that was inspired by the Mardi Gras lobster that was in the Key West Gallery, but now this guy is he will eventually be painted. It's hard to see with the light. Yeah. Haha, there we go. Now much better. So this guy is obviously made out of a much larger wrench, like cassettes for balance. And honestly, I just hadn't made a lobster yet. And I made one in Key West, and somebody loved it, and I loved it too. And so I decided it needed to be a second one. And that was how that decision pretty much came across. And it was, well, a really, really, really good decision, for sure. Absolutely good decision, because I love these pieces. They're easy to make because wrenches, believe it or not, even if they're painted, they are made out of big old solid iron. So they are easy to weld. They don't melt or break easy. And they are just, well, they just work real well. Now the next piece I'm going to show you is probably the second largest, maybe third largest, because I've only made 3 pieces that were quite heavy and quite large. But this one I'm particularly proud of. And if anyone is a crocodile fan, this piece is, right up for you. This piece definitely fits in with the whole Armored series as well, because he is made, 90% of this guy is made out of a helmet or a shoulder pad, a shield, and some various assortments of metals. And my favorite touching piece is, it's hard to kind of determine it, but there we go. His tail, this is a blunted scythe blade. I have definitely ground down, so it is not sharp at all. So, but this piece was so fun to make, and this is definitely, absolutely coming down to Key West with me on April 26th. And I really hope people come out to the, essentially the zoo, to see this monster, because this piece was just so fun to make. This was kind of one of those pieces earlier with that question where I didn't really know what it was going to be until I ordered the metal and then started welding bits and pieces together. And I probably welded the helmet and the shield as its back. And I kind of decided, oh, I see how this could be a 4-legged creature. And that's where the idea of the crocodile kind of was born, because who's the boss of the bayou? The big old crocodile, in my opinion. So that's definitely how that idea came about, was the scrap metal before the egg. And let's see another question. In earlier work, you often use great color combinations. How do you decide to use? And would you make a more polished look? Well, to be honest, it was the colors. Most of the time, it's usually requests for what kind of color scheme people want. The few times where I have selected the colors, I'll spray them around on wood or a wall or a piece of paper and see what kind of goes better. And the more polished look was, well, that just came with experience, and just I got better at my craft, and learned how to be better at my work and more skillful and more clean and less aggressive with how it went. So the average total in work hours on the average piece, I would say probably takes me half the week to the entire week to make 1 to 2 pieces, something like that. If it's something large like the crocodile, that's definitely going to take me the whole week, if not 2 weeks, to fabricate something large. But I love my work, and I'm really I just enjoy it. So it's less about the work hours and the time. It's more about me just playing with the metal. So sometimes I'll get a commission and I'll just run at it, and I look up and I've worked 9 hours, and I go, oh crap, I'm halfway done with this. But I would say about a week is about the average total it takes me to fabricate something completely and professionally, for sure. But yes, so the time has come for the live hydro dipping. I don't have a piece to dip, unfortunately, so I do have a piece of metal to kind of convey and show the process. So let's check it out. So I bring you to the lovely, lovely paint station. We have our lovely piece of selected scrap metal. So what I'm going to start with is I'm just going to start with your very standard primer. I like using gray because I prefer the darker look in the colors instead of the brighter look. All right, we're going to set that to quickly air dry, and I can explain a little bit more about the process. So essentially what I'm going to do is the primer acts as an adhesive to a layer of other paint. Paint will sit on water and not sink down to it. You can kind of get a nice, good, flat, solid layer of paint. What that will do is, as I dip the metal in my bucket of water, whatever paint is on the surface will kind of adhere to the primer, and the primer will kind of pick it off the water as I pull it out. This is actually a process that can be done to pretty much anything around the house. All you need is primer, desired colors, a bucket of water, and whatever hydro dipping works on plastics, metals, ceramics. Don't think it works on glass, but it does work on ceramics. So if anyone feels the need to hydro dip, it is a very, very simple process. It can be done at home, and it is very, very fun and rewarding. The key is going slow and having the patience to get the paint right. Otherwise, the paint will not stick right, and you will have gaps, and it frankly won't look very good, and nobody wants that. So let's see, this is almost there. All right, let's go ahead and get the paint started. So for this particular experiment, we've selected just a yellow and a blue and a bucket of water. as you can see, the paint has formed into a pattern. So we're going to take our piece, and we are going to take our boring gray, slowly dip, as it comes out, it is no longer boring gray. It has now taken on its own personality and its own pattern. So this is kind of the main way I have dipped my stuff, and it is just insanely fun way to do stuff like that. It does have its limitations. You can only do about 2 colors. Otherwise, it looks kind of off and weird. But that is the secret to how I paint my stuff. And it is a very, very fun process. So a few more questions to answer. So I'm using your basic, lovable Rust-Oleum Krylon from your average hardware store. You can get it anywhere. I know Strunks has a bunch of this stuff. I personally I know this is a gloss one, but I'm not so much a fan of gloss. I do like the matte. But when you do buy them, you do have to the big key is make sure that the magic metal word is in the can. Otherwise, it will not stick very well. But average Rust-Oleum from your hardware store has been my butter for the last 3 years. Now, for sketching, I do not, and I am a horrible drawer. I can draw stick people, and that's about the extent of my drawing. Personally, for me, I know a lot of artists, use designs, and that I've seen some designs, they look fantastic. For me, my brain it works differently. My brain allows me to kind of put pieces together without having to design something or without having to kind of figure out how exactly it needs to be put together at the moment. It's kind of what gives my pieces their own individuality within the artist's community. But also, for those who want to know a bit more about me, since I've shown you the shop and stuff, I started this whole welding business about 3 years ago. Started it not right off the bat, but I came home from college and I had finished a bachelor's degree in theater, where I'd kind of learned, I'd kind of, not exactly learned, but had played with the idea of prop design and the idea of creating objects for productions and stuff like that. And that led me to kind of collide with the art department, because we'd have to go in there to share tools. And I would notice that, they would have this cool smith and this cool welding. And I asked one of the teachers, how do I get into this? And he told me you got to take the sculpture classes, in which I did. And the school was gracious enough to allow me during my last semester. I only had to take 1 credit to graduate. So they allowed me to take 3 of the, all 3 sculpture courses at once, which kind of, shot me right into the welding. And I saw the welding and I was hooked instantly. So after I left College of Charleston, I decided I wanted to learn how to weld, because the idea of being an artist was an idea, but I understood that to be a little bit more realistic, I had to possibly do this on the weekend as a side gig and not really be able to make it my main career for some time. As it turned out, after I returned from welding school, I had difficulty finding employment. When I was back, it was hard to find jobs that lasted very long. Most places were either not hiring or went out of business. So I decided, okay, I've got to give this art thing a try. And, my parents were very, very supportive. And the first piece that I actually sold and made for my mother, and it was very, very fun. It was actually the piece that saved me from getting expelled from art class. And it definitely brought me a lot of, this is the original demon crabfish. This one's actually sitting at my mother's corner in her living room. This was the very first piece where I decided, aha, art is a cool idea and it's something that I can do. And I should continue to try to pursue it. And then I couldn't have asked for more support from, honestly, you all in the community for, really enjoying my art so much. It was just, couldn't have asked for, anything else. Let's see. The public viewing, Lord Richardson has put something out there. So cool. But yeah, that was kind of the day I decided it was time to be an artist. And 3 years later, here we are in lovely, lovely Silver Spring. I did start out of my parents' shed when I first started about 2 years ago. Then I worked at the McBeggins studio out in Whitman, Maryland, and then found my more permanent home here in Silver Spring, where all this lovely, lovely magic happens. Now, does anyone have any more questions, concerns, I love yous, I hate yous, for me to put in the chat? I am all ears to listen and take in your questions. So Laura has just put something in the chat. I'll just go ahead and reiterate it. So the Selt Gallery, I know someone asked earlier, is at 830 Fleming Street. And, 908 Fleming Street on April the 26th from 5 to 8. And it's going to be just as, if anyone was there for the Key West show, it's just going to be just as fun. And we're going to have a awesome, lovely time. Let's see. Would I be interested in showing one of my pieces in the Key West Tropical Forest and Botanical Gardens annual? I would. I absolutely would definitely be interested. Maybe we can discuss more of that. I'd love to make a piece for that, for the Botanical Garden. Ooh, I could make something very fun for the garden. So just definitely let me know on the 26th, and we will be in touch. Anyone who needs my number, it is 202-390-1881, and my email is dunnmetal@gmail.com for any questions or anything like that. The shield crab. Oh, that is, I'm so glad that you enjoyed the shield crab. I do have items for sale. Everything in the shop that I've shown you today is pretty much everything is for sale except for the small octopus, the faces of Key West, and the 2 dazzle crabs. Those are commissions and have already been spoken for. I take the commission. Pretty much, you send me an email if you would like something made, or if something has caught your eye and you want to purchase that. You just drop me an email at dunninmetal@gmail.com, and we can discuss if you want me to ship it to you. If you are a Key West local, like I said, I'll be down there on the 26th, so I can always bring something with me. And if you live about an hour and a half from the Maryland Silver Spring area, I do offer free delivery for those who live in about an hour and a half. Other than that, I will ship it to you by UPS. And let's see. Mrs. Cord, yes. And I will make sure that yours is extra, extra special polished because, I've seen every James Bond with your son. So, that's That's exactly why I will be exactly polished, because our families are great friends, and I'm very, I hope your crab is doing well, and I hope everybody else's stuff is doing well. I just popped up just saw Barbara. Hi, Barbara. Hope all is going well, and I hope your grasshopper is indeed going well as well. So I have my website at dunninmetal.com. The pieces that are currently put up there, those are old works, and a lot of them has sold, but fear not. Anything and everything can be requested. I also take new requests. I am very flexible. Just if you think it could be made out of metal, then we are of similar minds, and we can discuss. If you would like something new made, you just got to give me an idea. But yes, dunninmetal.com is where a lot of all my past works have been posted. I do have a few photos to post in the next couple of weeks, so bear with me. There will be new work listed. But yes, dunninmetal.com is where you can find that under sculptures. I think any other questions for the artists? I am still yours to answer all your meddling needs. All right, well, let's see what else can. Oh,
if you want to keep going, I will
no,
turn
no,
my
no,
mic
no. No, go ahead. I was just giving people a chance to maybe somebody wasn't trying to get their fingers typing fast enough.
Hold on. I'm going to send one through. Here we go.
Aha! There's one more. There's one more. So I'm not sure if I answered this earlier, but the ideas from the creatures will come from National Geographic, movies, TV. Just things of memory. And what has happened in the past, and I wish I had these pieces with me now, but few people have given me what I call the creature challenges, where somebody challenges me to make something I haven't made before, because as much as stuff as I have made, there is still tons of stuff that I haven't made out there. So for anybody who is just looking to challenge a local artist, send an email my way, and we will see if I am up to your creature challenge. And I would say, yeah, because it's going to be very, very fun. I've had a few people do that for me, and the results, I'm actually going to keep the results a secret. And but they're fun. They're very fun. So please challenge me. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to sit in front of a Zoom computer or a catalog DSS Studio Tour computer and stare at a computer screen for the better part of an hour. I really appreciate everybody coming out and seeing everything. And I hope to see as many of you as I can on April 26th. And for those who had to tune out late, or for those who may not have been able to make it, fear not, because the Key West Society has done great, and this event is recorded, and you will be able to access it at any time. I would say that is about all the time I have for you folks. I need to, get back to cutting some lovely, lovely metal. And I hope you guys have a great rest of the day.
All right. Thank you again to everyone for joining us today. And to Dave, this was our first attempt at a virtual studio tour, and it's been wonderful. We've had a lot of engagement with everyone who has attended today, so thank you for that. And like I said, we are already working on plans for next year's Papio celebration, and we really hope that Dave will be able to join us again in the future or next year for that programming. Okay, so tomorrow we can continue learning more about Stanley Papio with our Happy Hour with the Historian. So this will be a much more in-depth information about Papio and his life in the Keys. And on Saturday, we have a children's workshop at the fort. So we'll be taking recycled materials, and we'll be creating a piece that is similar to something that Papia would have created. And the kids get to decide what this will be. So spaces are still available for that. You can just sign up online. And then on Sunday, we conclude with a free museum day at Fort East Martello, where the Stanley Papio Junkyard Rebel exhibition is on display. So thank you again. Have a great day, everybody. If you have any other questions, please send them to me, send them to Dave, and we will make sure that he gets them and can get back to you. All right. Have a wonderful evening. Good night.
Good night.